This conference will now be recorded.
I think we need to leave. Oh, no, we don't.
Yeah, we're closed here and they're still.
Sorry. Where's that at?
I
I'm
had to
sorry.
think about that myself.
10:03, we'll call the meeting to order of the Board of Directors of Sweetwater Enterprise for Economic Development Municipal Development District of Sweetwater, Texas. It's Friday, October 9th, 2020. We'll begin the meeting with a prayer. Gail, please.
Y'all join me in prayer. Father God, thank you for this day and this opportunity to come before together and to further the city of Sweetwater to be in assistance in doing that. Father, give us the wisdom, give us the time, and give us the pleasure to enjoy those improvements. And Father, make sure we're considering all involved. Father, today we ask that you be with us, and we thank you for your son. We thank you for the gifts that he gave us. It's in his name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Gil. Item 3, public comments and receipt of petitions. At this time, anyone will be allowed to speak on any matter other than personnel matters or matters under litigation for a length of time not to exceed 3 minutes. No board discussion or action may take place on a matter until such matter has been placed on an agenda and posted in accordance with law. Are there any comments? Being none, we'll go to item 4, election of officers for 2021. Nominations are now in order for the office. How should we do this? All together as one slate or individual offices, or do you care?
Whichever way they want, it's pretty simple to do it all together as one.
Okay.
If someone made the motion, like we just keep the same one we got type thing.
Okay.
Wouldn't say that, no, really.
So nominations are now in order for the slate of officers for 2021, president, vice president, and secretary.
I move that all positions remain as they are.
Second.
Okay.
Real looks coming through.
Are there any further?
Is that okay, Carolyn?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm fine with that. Is everyone fine with that? Okay. Are there any further? I'm trying to read my Robert's Rules of Order cheat sheets. Are there any further nominations?
Actually, can you read who those positions are?
Oh, okay. So for president, it would be myself. For vice president, that is Gil, and secretary is Russ. So, sorry. So are there any further nominations? So if not, the nominations are closed. And since only one slate of candidates has been nominated for this office, the nominees are deemed elected. So,
Congratulations.
okay. Thank y'all. Okay, so now item 5 is Dana for a report on the demolition of dilapidated structures.
You go.
Okay. I get to sit in this seat. Yeah, the hot seat. Okay, Misha's gonna set up something just to kind of give you an idea of the work that we have done, or you have done, we've done together out on the corridor area, in this case, out west and east Broadway Street. This is pretty current now. What we had done, as you know, and you were approved funding for what we call asbestos abatement, and it turned out to be asbestos abatement in place, meaning they had to wet down structures and remove asbestos based on the bids that were submitted. And so what I have is a series of slides, just maybe 5, I guess, or 4, that shows the before and after pictures of the work that has been done with your great assistance here, and very appreciative of what has been done. You can look at this. This is out on 3211 West Broadway Street, where we had some tanks in an old building that was dilapidated. And you can see what it looked like now, and that's okay. This is 3307 You'll notice that, the building's gone, the foundations are still there. The bid did not cover the foundations. We were going to come in later with that. Actually, we were going to come later with the buildings and the foundations with asbestos removed, but the bid that was approved took the asbestos and the buildings away. This is the Palomino, 1500 and 1502. There's just a few before pictures there. And then that's what we've got right now. I happen to get the train in the background on a couple of these pictures, but I think we all recognize that that is a significant improvement along Broadway at this point in time. One item, if you want to go to 3307, oh no, go to the next one, I'm sorry. I wanted to it would be the back on East Broadway. There you go. So that was another project here. Again, I didn't really go over that. 1912. That is the businesses next to this property have thanked everybody involved for removing the blight next door. It almost looks like a park setting in there with, we kept some trees, the nicer trees, and took out some scrub trees and that type of thing, particularly at the Palomino where they were in the foundation or up against the pier and beam, and they had to be removed because it was easier to demo. So 3307, one item, and this was actually on the agenda for a bit.
This is our action item D,
Okay.
right here.
This is when the bids had come in, this was a part of that bid that would have kept the building. Asbestos to be removed, the building would remain, and we would get that with the second phase demolition with the foundations on the other properties. But working with the contractor, we asked for a change order, $1,500 to remove this building and some other stuff you can't see in the back of this building as part of the project. They had already been here, they mobilized. The city actually took the concrete and the waste over at our landfill, so we got it down to $1,500. What I told the contract at that time is you'll get paid whether it's the city or whether it would be the MDD, and I would ask for you to consider that. And I have a change order right here I'll give to Misha. It was for the $1,500 just so we could get all the buildings gone at one time.
So the initial amount that y'all approved was $71,695 for the 4 property locations. And the change order is for a total of $73,195. So it was just an additional $1,500 for the actual demolition instead of having to go out for bid again and wait on that property to get demolished.
Yeah, and part of what they did is they took the building, but they took a few other things that were on the ground that you could see from the road to clean it up. That foundation on the left had all kinds of stuff on it, and so we cleaned up around where you couldn't see anymore, and it just looks nicer from the street. One of the discussion points here moving forward is considering the removal of the foundations. Each one of these properties has a foundation. Clearly, we've made a significant improvement, but we still have those for potential removal on another bid if we went out and bid out the removal of those foundations. So that is just something that we've talked about as staff, that in order to continue and to make it look even nicer, that we would also bid out for the foundation removal. And that would just constitute another bid. It would be local, regional contractors that would bid on that. There's no asbestos involved with it at all. So it's just typical demolition and removal. And so that's just something that I think we can discuss, or I'd like to get some feedback if I could on moving ahead. I've done such a great job to this point. It looks really good. we can do a little bit more out there on those properties. If this board is so willing to do that, I would then set up to do a bid and receive solicit bids for the removal of the foundations on all the properties.
So you need just a verbal commitment, a verbal, go ahead.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we don't have a price right now. We're
Right.
just kind of asking if
Check it
you'd
out.
be interested in seeing that, we'd go out a bit.
Yes, I would bring something back.
Right.
If you would like for me to do that, I will certainly and gladly do that
Okay,
and bring it back for your consideration with an actual number.
okay, so you want to, Russ, your opinion?
I don't know how in the world you bid on demoing a foundation because you never know what you're going to get into.
Well, but I think he's talking, are you talking about the foundations right now? Or are you
Yeah.
talking about the additional properties?
No, just the foundations on these properties right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Misunderstood.
So the ones that we just did, they did the
Yes.
building and left the foundation.
Right, right.
Do they say what they might be looking at dollar wise?
Well, I guess I could say that even though it wasn't a bid that we received, I know that in discussion with Vanco, for instance, I remember them mentioning that they would have probably done the Palomino for $10,000, just the foundations there for $10,000. Now, again, we couldn't do that because that wasn't part of the bid, and I kind of dismissed it at this point in time and said, no, we can't do that. We'll have to bid the project out. But
Sure.
that is the number they kind of threw out at me to give you kind of an idea. You want to go back to the Palomino. I don't know if we can get a good sense of what we have there, but you can see that there's probably 5 or 6 foundations there. You can't see them all from this picture. So there's, there's a pretty good amount of concrete there. So, figure 10 approximate just for that property. The other properties, there's not as much. My guess, if you asked me for a range of costs, I would probably, don't quote me on it, please, but I would say probably anywhere between 30 to 50, somewhere in that area for all properties. It's somewhere in that range, if I went off of what they gave us. And it may come down less than that because it would be a contractor getting all the work.
How many properties is that, Dana?
4. It would be the 4 tracks that we just did for removing of the commercial properties. The foundations on like 1912, there was 2 buildings. So there's 2 foundations there. Palomino, I know there's at least 5 or 6. And then you kind of went out to, you can see the one there. And then there's 2 actually, or 1 on this property, 3211, just where the building was. And then 3307, there's 2 of them. You can see them on that lower right, the 2 foundations there. Those would probably stand up more than any other. But that's what I'm thinking, Russ. Again, that's just my thought. They would be mobilized here.
Dr. Pete, do you have an opinion?
I have a question. Is the city going to be responsible for mowing these properties now?
Most likely, yes. We will have to probably send notices out to the property owners once the weeds get up a little bit high, yes. And we probably hadn't enforced it so much before. Now, certainly we want to make sure that these properties are, abated well, cleaned up. So yeah, it'll be normal part of our enforcement. So there will be a cost there, Dr. Pete.
Well, the slabs remaining there kind of reduces the area that you're going to have to mow, but getting the slabs up would potentially make the properties more marketable. I don't have any problem taking a look at it. I want to see what it's going to cost and decide, well, do we want to spend that money pulling up slabs or would we rather spend that money demolishing other structures? So I don't have a problem with going out for bids.
Joseph?
I personally don't think we need to move forward with the foundation removal. We've done so much for the community by removing the eyesore. The property value, whether there's a difference in value or not, I don't know, but for the next user of the property. If the existing property owner sells it, let that next investor be the one to make that decision. In fact, in some cases, depending on the foundation, it might be reused. But my opinion is that we've done our deal, and I think that's where we as seed need to stop.
Thank you. And Gil?
I echo Joseph's sentiment. The cost to the next landowner, he's going to have land development and land preparation, irregardless, and that's not a word, regardless of where or what he builds. So that cost is going to be absorbed in the expansion of the new project. So why should we invest more money? And it saves the city some mowing, some weed control.
Yeah, and I'd like to see us just continue down the road of tearing down properties. And if we, get to a point where we have a bunch of slabs everywhere, then maybe look at it. But those slabs don't bother me. I think they're beautiful compared to what we've been looking at.
Okay, so Madam President, you may skip to action item D since it was referring to this
Okay.
presentation.
Right. So board to review and consider approving additional funds for the demolition of 3307 West Broadway as a reimbursement to the city of $1,500.
I forgot, Dana, is that for a foundation or is that for a building?
Just for the building. That was for the building at 3307, not the foundation.
Second.
It's moved and seconded that we approve $1,500 expenditure, reimburse the city for demolition of 3307 West Broadway. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried. That was a great decision to get that done, too. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
it looks wonderful, Dana.
It's
We
nice
are
to go
so
around that
thrilled.
corner.
Yes,
See those buildings.
it's wonderful. It really
You want to
is.
go ahead and do the-
Okay.
Now, this next presentation is in reference honestly to action item E. So let's see.
It was 600, I think, right? Yeah, 4 times. Okay. So we have identified some additional properties on, one on Lamar. This is further south in city limits on Lamar. It's actually unsecured building. I'm not sure. It looks like an old gas station at one point in time. I don't have an address to it, but it's on you're traveling south.
Just outside the city limits.
Huh?
So it's in city limits.
Well, old city
It's
limits.
across from the Taylor Electric
Yeah,
substation.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's just, quite honestly, we get some activity there, I think that, nobody really would like to have. And it's just an eyesore there. It's not a real big building, but that is one that we've got targeted for potential removal or through the process of considering it for a substandard structure. These items would have to go to the city council for consideration of a substandard structure. So we haven't started this process. We just know that these are, that we're looking at them. Go to the next one. This is another structure. This is actually going further west of the work that we did at 3307. This is a block structure in city limits right off of Broadway. There's the building on the top, fairly sizable, and then we have an actual manufactured home on the bottom. Looks like the same picture there. I guess I didn't get the other one in. But anyway, in addition to these, there are some semi trucks and trailers out there that have been sitting there for, I don't even want to venture to guess how long they've been out there, but I'm going to say in excess of 10, 15 years.
Easily, yeah.
Yeah. All of that. So that would require something different, but we would take care of all of that at one time. So this would be considered, I don't think this is going to be any issue for getting a substandard structure designation. It's wide open. It's very visible from Broadway. I'm thinking in terms of you're coming off the bridge from I-20, you're coming into the city and it's right there on the right, or you're coming from the city, you're going to the airport or the WASP Museum, or you're going to TSTC and it's right there on the left. It's just a very blighted property. So that's on our list also.
Okay.
This is on Broadway, probably a quarter mile from the bridge, crossing the bridge in the downtown area. There's nothing in this building whatsoever. It's primarily, it's a metal roof. It's got some busted out windows and really, quite honestly, hasn't been used for anything that I can tell.
It's car lot, used car lot, just before you got to it.
Yes.
On the same side of the road.
And so this is, just one of those properties where it doesn't get mowed either. It's one of those out of sight. It isn't out of sight, but it's out of mind with the property owner, quite honestly. And they haven't been brought into the process to review that structure for potential use or whether it's substandard. So that's what we're looking at. This is on the other side of the street, a little bit closer to the downtown area. I think that used to be an old car dealership or something.
I think so.
On the left-hand side of that building, it's unsecured. I can't imagine. Once we would do an inspection, we'd go on the inside, and we have the right, once we get the right to do that, then we would go on the inside and take a look at this structure. My guess is that it's been completely gutted for copper and pipe, everything, because it's open. It's a fairly sizable lot, but it's clearly just not being used for anything. We actually had gone in and removed some tires with the property owner. I think we abated it ourselves after notification was made. I don't think that you'll see any activity here with the property owner. So again, this is another structure that we're looking at, for a substandard structure. And this is one that we have already done an inspection on. This has gone through the process. This one's just a matter of going and putting it on a bid list. It's gone through the process, so we don't have to do any inspections here.
Dana, if I might interject, one of the things, this was actually a project we talked about several months ago.
Yep.
And there was housing back behind it, and we were gonna look about including that. Well, those houses have already been torn out. So, because we knew that once this got torn down, you'd see these really nasty, ugly looking houses behind. So the landowners took care of those, or was it the city, David, Dana?
Yes.
Was
Yeah.
City did that?
Huh?
Was when did the property owner that?
Yeah, the property owner actually is in, and it's almost complete. We're working out some final details on that property where there's a couple of roll-off containers. They unfortunately got filled to where they're too heavy for Knox Waste to take them away. So we actually have to work to get some of that taken out of there so they can take the containers away. And then we will complete the project. I talked to the property owner this week and he said, just do what you need to do. And said, okay, we will. We'll keep it as reasonable priced as we can for the property owner. They went in and so far did a pretty good job of removing two homes, 103 and 105 Hickory. That, yes, Ken mentioned if you're coming to the left of this property. So we'll work with the property owner to get those completely, and then we'll put them on our before and after list. We'll continue to tally what we're doing and make that available to you and to the city council. But this is one that, here's another one. This is another one that we had worked on. There's actually 3 buildings on this property. You can't see the one to the left, but these are the 2 structures that we've already done property condition inspections. So this is a matter of really just getting it on the bid list moving forward. So the reason that I brought these up is On the last ones, we had contracted with a firm, Veritas. Did I get that right? Veritas? Veritas.
Yeah.
I can't get it right. Anyway, all three of us say it differently, so we're gonna go with Ken on this one.
Sausage, egg, and cheese.
Well, I was gonna say his version sounds better.
So there's 4 properties here that we would have to start the process of getting a warrant to go on the property, doing a property inspection of the buildings. And it's $150 a piece. And so we believe that these are probably gonna go to the city council in December at the regular meeting to allow for us to do the inspections, to get the reports, to do the notifications with the property owner and so forth. And I guess what we're asking for is probably like what you've done before, is just to, if we could get reimbursed, seek reimbursement just for the property condition inspections. That gives us, by the way, the property condition inspections that were done on those other commercial properties were very important to getting those properties considered to be condemned. So therefore, we were able to do the demolition as part of the asbestos abatement. It was very important. Plus, it gives us something to fall back on if there's an issue that comes up about the value of that building. It gives us a little bit more input, information on whether that building, how far out of code it is, and some of the issues associated with the structure, for the council to make a good decision on moving forward potentially with a designation for substandard structure. So
Dana is coming to y'all as the board today to ask for, it's $150 per property through Bureau Veritas, for a total of 4 properties, $600. And so that would include this property for the initial inspection, this property,
Yep.
this one, and this one.
yes.
And that's action item E.
Thank you, Misha. And thank you, Dana.
Move to approve funding for these projects.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve funding for the projects as discussed in this presentation. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it and the motion is carried. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
One question on that Lamar property south of town. That is an old station and that probably predates the
Oh, your tank there.
mandate of tank removal. So you might be aware that maybe tanks in the ground.
Yeah.
I know you probably are, but.
Yeah, we're gonna look into see what we have to do. I think if you're gonna redevelop property, then I think you have to absolutely remove tanks or get into that. I'm not sure on a demo whether we'd have to do that part of it. That's just a question I've got out for TCEQ to see if we actually would have to do anything in that regard, or if we can just take the building down.
Right.
That's a good, and you know, we're gonna run into some of those on the
Yeah,
board.
there's always gonna be, take the lid off the worms, get out.
Right.
It wouldn't be worth getting into having to get environmental, opinions and all of that, I don't think.
Right, yeah, I mean, I
For
think
our purpose.
we don't want to get into anything real significant. I mean,
Yeah.
if somebody's gonna redevelop property, it's really on them to take care of that, I think.
I think
Some of those properties will never be developed or redeveloped because of the cost associated probably with, the brownfields issues.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I need to clean it up.
All righty, we ready to move on to action item A, 6A? Yes, okay. So action item 6A, board to review and consider approving the minutes of the September 14th, 2020 meeting. Anybody have any questions or comments?
I move that we approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Thank you. It's moved and seconded that we approve the minutes of the September 14th, 2020 meeting. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Move to item 6B, board to review and consider approving payment of the accounts payable.
So moved.
Anybody have any questions on the accounts payable? Did y'all all get everything? Okay.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we approve payment of the accounts payable. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed,
Abstain.
no. Abstain, and with Russ abstaining.
If we didn't do so much business with you, you could vote.
I'd rather abstain.
Are there any opposed? Any noes? If not, the ayes have it and the motion is carried. Okay, now we'll go to item 6C, board to review and consider approving August 2020 financial statements.
Okay, we'll start first with our balance sheet. Not really a lot to point out other than our interest rates need to come up and our sales tax needs to increase.
But really I was looking at the sales tax when you think about it.
We're sitting at our fifth.
We're up
Best
$37,000, $37,400 over last year. So that's good. And the city's only down $122,700. So considering COVID, in my opinion, I think that's outstanding. Yeah,
We'll take it.
we'll take it.
We just don't like to see that negative 4.77 sitting there.
Get used to the others.
On the income statement, not a lot to point out. We're coming up to the end of our fiscal year. We have one more month to report for fiscal year 19 and 20. Really, the only thing that's even slightly out of budget is the rental and equipment, and that's mainly our copy machine. We changed our lease agreement, and so we had to add an extra little thing of insurance we weren't aware of, liability insurance.
I thought you said coffee machine.
Oh,
You went in on that, huh?
coffee machine.
Well, if we don't have a coffee machine, she doesn't do anything, so that's why we insure it.
But other than that,
Coffee or coffee?
Coffee.
everything's within pretty close range of budget. On page 6, our designated, or our fund balance, excuse me, you'll see a decrease in our Sutherland lumber. That was our first payment, which actually involved 3 months to them. And then also PAYDEX, which is our apartment incentive. They've actually, 22 is where they're standing at right now. And then, of course, sales tax, like we talked about. You'll see in the grayed out October numbers, those are the ones that David Villa just provided us. And it's down a little more than what it was this month. And I believe the city was down 11, about 11.3. So we're COVID.
I will say, just the amount of Amazon returns that I get at my place, they're doing a heck of a business right now.
Mhm.
It's
It's hard to compete against, and all the reports are showing continuous increase in that sector.
And then unemployment, that's positive. I think every county has decreased from July to August. And all except for Scurry and Mitchell are, under the Texas average. So that's something to brag about in our region. Unless there's questions.
And we know you know this, but we always like to bring it out. At 4.9, our diversity of economic base is why we're much lower than everybody else's. And if you look at Scurry County, which is comparable except for the highway, they're oil and gas. And it's not returning as fast, and ours has returned so much faster, and we're very blessed. And of course, as other things we'll talk about later, we have more blessings coming our way. So.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions or comments on the financial statements?
Question for David or someone in the room that knows about tax, sales tax, when it comes to online purchases. Remind me again how that works for a municipality.
We typically don't get anything from that. It's gonna be at the point of sale where we get the 2% local.
So there's no way to track origination of the sale and the delivery point to a taxing authority for the sales tax?
Not that we know of. I mean, if you go back before COVID, and correct me where I misstate this, David, the state was actually looking into that, and they were looking at how would they, as a state, get that sales tax back into Texas? And then even if they did, how would they disperse it to the communities that it was generated from, where that purchase was made? And they didn't have many answers. And since all of this COVID, I haven't heard anything else from the state's point of view of how they're attacking that. But they, Attorney General Paxton was actually working on that of figuring out a way that they could actually, at least from a state level, start collecting the sales tax that was being sold inside the state of Texas.
But I have a question. So, I mean, I've done a little bit of reading on it, but I don't know anything like you do on it. But like, say, for example, Tractor Supply or Walmart. So you order, and I'm not talking about just pick up from the local store, but you order and you have it delivered either directly to the store or to your home, but you order and you choose, you know, the Sweetwater, Walmart, or Tractor Supply as your store. I thought that they
I think that's correct.
did get some sales tax.
I think so. I think
through
that's
that.
the point of sale is when it's at that local store. But if you order it online and it's sent direct to your home, you don't get it then.
Right. So they have to deliver it to that store for you to get it?
No, I
or-
think even if it's
you
delivered
choose it-
directly to you, as long as, like you're saying, if it's,
If you choose that
designate the-
Oh,
store,
okay.
and I think like, so Walmart and I don't mean to leave anybody out, but I know those two, and you know, you can get a lot of things you need from those stores rather than Amazon. I don't know how we get that word out, but if that is in fact correct, you know, might be a way to promote.
We'll make a note of that, and we'll check with the Attorney General's office and see how that process works.
Because it's just as easy to order a lot of what you get off of Amazon at least those two places. Not like I said, you don't want to leave any local people out or anything, but that's a.
Well, and with the right information, that could be a
Yeah.
campaign that we could do as a community. Let's talk about if you want to order it from a local store and have it go through as the point of sale, and even if it's delivered to your home, then our community still benefits from it.
I think if we could get that information just to find out a definitive way that
Mhm.
works, I think it would be helpful. I'd like to know, I'd for sure.
Yeah, we'll do that, and I think that'd be something we could work with our Chamber of Commerce too, to do as a local campaign.
Okay, good.
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Anybody else? We ready to approve them, I guess? Right, we need to approve the August 2020 financials.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
great. So it's been moved and seconded to approve the August 2020 financial statements. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Okay, action items done. On to marketing director's report.
Just wanted to give you all a quick update on our website progress. We signed our service agreement and we've made the initial installment payment to them. I had my first initiation call on Wednesday the 14th. And so I've been running around gathering pictures, and they sent me this long 6-page initiation report that I had to fill out about Sweetwater and comparables to other websites and what I like and don't like. And, just kind of some of the ideas that we want to see in a site as far as that. So that's been really time consuming since October 1st. The facade improvement grants, the other day, whenever I took these around and stopped at the bank and kind of talked to Rodney, I guess he saw the facade improvement grant program in here and actually shared that with a customer of his, and we've been contacted by him in interest. We've also been contacted by Matt Miles that bought Kenny Maxwell's building, and he's already got us all of his contractor quotes and everything, just didn't get it to us in time for this meeting. We've also been contacted by a few businesses on Lamar Street, a couple of other ones on Broadway, and then also one on Haley. Kind of just interest in word of mouth saying we've expanded our boundaries and stuff like that. All in all, about 6 different companies are either really, really interested, already got us their stuff, or have an application in hand and are reviewing our regulations. So.
Can you list those companies by chance?
I sure can. Device, ICU, El Papagayo, of course, the Kenny Maxwell's building, or Matt Miles building now, 99-cent store, Taqueria Rodriguez, and Big Country Ag.
Wonderful.
So it's pretty exciting. And that's my short report.
Did you want to?
Oh, yeah.
Let me handle
Yeah.
that.
And then also another thing that we wanted to ask y'all, if y'all would be interested in doing, if we happen to get these facade improvement grants and in hand, we'll have maybe 2 within the next week or so. Would y'all be interested in calling a special go-to meeting from your home or anything, just to quickly jump on there and review them and approve them? Or would y'all like us to wait until the next, we just didn't want to tie anyone up in their efforts to, kind of wanted to get y'all's opinion on that.
What is the plan for having a limit on what we do, or having a way to evaluate these?
We discussed having one, but I don't think anything was ever said.
I mean, I'm excited about the, interest, but I just.
And the maximum is 15,000 each. Do y'all
Right.
want to put like a?
Just don't want everybody mad at you if, we decide, oh, we better stop doing, this is enough for this year, we'll wait, if we haven't said that up front. I don't know.
And I mean, I'll be honest, I hope we don't stop.
Yeah.
I think like anything, it's, once you stop, then it gets it out of people's minds, said, yeah, we thought you'd just do a little bit. And I think that it's great that we have that much excitement of some interest. Some of these probably won't come together.
So it's not
But it's
gonna be
great
an
that we know
issue.
that there's interest. And just like Matt Miles, I mean, we went down and saw he's looking at putting a copper awning on the front of that whole building and repainting all the windows and fixing all that stuff up. And if you look at that whole side of the building will then be, I mean, that block will look really well. And we help the neighboring business right beside them. I think this is just, along with our demolition stuff, this is really creating some better curb appeal. And I think that's what we've been talking about for our community for quite a while.
Okay,
Just my opinion though.
that's good. No, that's what I wanted to hear.
I'm done.
Anybody?
I echo Ken's comments for what it's worth. I think that's a great thing. And if we have 6 more after this, as we want to see, I don't think we put a limit on that. But
Okay.
we obviously, as a board, have discretion. Is that right?
Yeah.
And I guess going back to her question, would you be interested in doing some kind of a go-to meeting if we could get all the data in the next week or two? And, one of the things we always get concerned about is, will they lose interest if it takes too long? And, we're already getting into the winter months, and if we could possibly have a quick 10-minute type go-to meeting where we didn't even have to do it in place, it was all online, we could possibly get a couple of those things done. We still have some work to do on our end to make that happen, but we thought we'd check with you to see if that would be an interest to you.
No problem. Sure.
Yep, I'm good.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, great. Thank you, Misha. It's good.
Got a few things. One, we actually got an email this morning. We've been working with a manufacturing company that has decided they're going to locate in Sweetwater. It's a small company. It's called Hardhead Veterans, and I'll pass this around just to kind of show. They actually make ballistic helmets for private military, for police officers, private citizens. Right now, they're a company that's in, and they'd like to hire veterans if possible. That's kind of their focus, and all the ownership is veterans right now, except for the one guy that is kind of like an assistant manager. He is not a veteran, but everybody else is. They let us know that they're buying the former Coke building on West Broadway.
Is it the Coke building or is it the next building?
Now it's,
Okay. He came in yesterday and I asked him.
Yeah.
He didn't know that it was the old Coke building.
yeah, in fact, his guys were in here this morning. They contacted us about certificate of occupancy. We've already contacted Dane and their group. They're going to go out and inspect it so they can get the electrical done and some of those type of things done. Their intent, I mean, they're in Colorado and in Illinois. Their intent is to move all facilities at some point in time to Sweetwater. And it's not a big thing. It's not a lot of people or anything like that, but they're buying a $500,000 building in our community that makes sense. It's gonna, it's on the tax rolls now, but it's gonna have some people working in it. So we're gonna have one less empty building. And I'll pass this around. It's, it says hard hat veterans. They make tested ballistic helmets more affordable and accessible for the people who need them, for the warfighter, to the police officer, to the ordinary citizen. And we didn't have anything to do with the initial contact. They found the property on Zillow.
Okay, good.
Yeah, was there a reason they came to Sweetwater?
They found Zillow. I mean, they truly found, but I think also they did mention that Texas is business friendly.
And taxes.
And the taxes that they're running into in Colorado and Illinois, Texas is a much more favorable place to do business.
Yeah, for Texas.
Yes.
And the cost of property. They
Yes.
said the warehouse in Denver, the marijuana industry is.
Oh, yes.
taking those away.
What kind of jobs are we looking at on this?
Manufacturing.
Yeah, we don't even know that. It's pretty small numbers. He said they'll probably only have 2 or 3 people here to start. And then they're just gonna have to expand as they go and see how that works.
That's great.
Apartment wise, we've met with a group. It's a Park Capital. Drew Weber is the principal in it. Is looking to buy a 4-plex here in our community on Locust and let's see, it's corner of Locust, and I've got some pictures of it that'll show you. Corner of Locust and 11th Street. It's a 2-story. You've probably driven by it. It's down from Ludlam Measurements. They're looking to possibly buy it and completely remodel all of them. There are 4 units in them. All of them are considered 1-bedroom apartments. There's actually could be 2, but the way they're designed, you have to walk through 1 bedroom to get to another part of the house. So they'll really lease them as a 1-bedroom. And we thought we'd bring this to you to see if this is something you'd be interested in assisting with, and if so, then we'll carry it a step further.
Who's doing it again?
Pardon?
Who is doing it again? I'm sorry.
Drew Weber, it's a Park Capital. It's a gentleman that has bought the Elm Street apartments. He's not the one that redid them. Someone else did that and then flipped them, and he has bought those. And now he is looking to buy this property also. And, in discussions, I think these would be great workforce housing.
What are we looking at as far as, did you have any discussions regarding?
No, we only talked about some of the things we've done in the past.
So you're just looking for a preliminary indication?
Yes.
I'd like to look at it, just personally. It doesn't hurt to look.
I mean, the discussion we had was actually doing almost identical to what they're doing out at the El Presidente or Spanish Arms. I always say the wrong one.
Oaks, yeah.
Oaks, yeah. But he's actually gonna redo all the plumbing in the whole place. Plans on putting new vinyl plank flooring, new countertops, new cabinets, new cabinet faces if needed, new appliances, fresh paint. It just recently had all brand new windows put in it. Most of the doors okay, but upgrade some of them. All brand new heating and cooling units for each unit. And then there'll be some exterior work.
That's assuming it's structurally sound.
Yes,
So-
and it is very structural. In fact, I walked through it. Misha and I did this last week, and with my construction background, we always walk into places like that, and look at cracks above doorways and things like that, because those are the signs that foundations are settling, and it's as solid as can be.
Just following up, with the overall mission, I think is so important for our community is housing and retail. Those two things I think are so important for us at this juncture in our time. And given the great opportunities of this community, I think that anything we could do to help spur growth in either one of those two areas, I personally am all for. So for what it's worth, my opinion is, I think let's take a look and see what we can do.
Anybody else? You want to go around the room?
I agree. I mean, is he going to come back with a kind of a bid proposal?
Well,
or-
I mean, he and I would work, I told him, I said, we'll take it in at this meeting just to see if there's interest in going a step further, and if so, then we will sit down with them and talk about what they planned on doing and then what kind of possibilities there could be from our end. And then more than likely using the apartment deal that we've already done as kind of a template that we've been able to use.
Dr. Peak?
I think it makes good sense. I mean, it's nice to have the new houses out south of town, but if we could do some infill work too, I mean, workforce housing plus it's going to help to look at that neighborhood. And I don't see any reason not.
I get, one thing I wonder about is, should we put a limit on the number of units that we're addressing at a time? I mean, luckily we've got 4 here, but somebody comes and wants to do 1 or 2, then that can open up a whole.
No, and it makes sense. I know when we talked about Jose's deal, we kind of said that it needs to be 2 or more, because if it's 1, it could be just an individual doing it for themselves.
Right.
2 or more is more than likely a commercial venture. But
I agree with everything said.
Okay, thank you.
What-
I do too.
what do you have an idea of what kind of numbers you think about? Because I mean, you could actually, you could take a duplex, for instance, and someone could, I mean, the parents could live on one side, the kid lives on another, and that doesn't really open housing for other people. But I don't know that if it's more than one family, maybe that's the threshold.
We might have to stipulation that it's, not for the
Yeah.
owner's residence.
Right.
Now, if you did 2 or more and then you use that as a guideline, then that would kind of cover it then, because then that would make a duplex as a commercial investment viable then.
Or can we say maybe you can't claim a homestead or I guess you.
Or use it in primary or secondary residence.
Okay.
Jeff, do you have a weigh-in on this as far as it meeting our, what we can do as a municipal development district and all of that?
What you can do is you cover the broad discretion.
Okay.
The 5 of y'all can essentially decide, as long as it's not arbitrary. So probably in a circumstance like this, you would want it to be more than a single or a double, just in the sense of you've got to make the determination that it's going to promote or expand new or business development. So if we're looking at a single family building their own house, it's not going to do well. So that's what I think you're on track there.
Okay.
Thinking that it needs to be more.
And to follow that thought, the background of my original comment is I hope for Sweetwater that we have 120 new families in Sweetwater and not 120 new commuters from Abilene. And so that's the purpose of where I'm coming from.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you on that. And then we've talked with, there's been a lot of discussion about a group out of California that owns lots of properties in our community, the Hantmans, and it's Hantman. So sometimes it's actually, you try to call it Hamptons or what this other, but we've talked with Judith. Judith is the daughter of the owner. They actually own Apple Creek apartment complex, Country Club, which is on 17th Street, and they also own Village, which is the ones with the blue tarps that we had a year ago.
Yep.
That Dana got taken care of. We've started conversations with them about the possibility of redoing apartments, similar to what we've done with the others. This conversation will probably take a while, because to me, it's just great that they're willing, and at least we've had a conference call between the owners and the real estate agent out of Lubbock that is managing the property, and at least letting them know what we would like to see, what we would like to be a part of, and at least give them some ideas of what could come down the pipeline over time. So at least they didn't say no, and we'll kind of go from there. But it was just exciting that we actually had that conversation, because that's been a tough group to deal with for the last 20 years, probably at least.
Are they also the same owners of Avenger Village?
Yes, they are. They probably have 40, 50, I don't know, 30, 50 properties in Sweetwater. Dr. Hampton's old clinic on Haley Street is another property of theirs. There's quite a few properties in town. The vacant lot back behind the Bethel Church is also theirs.
She's also talked about the Midway drive-through
Mhm.
and what we would be interested in. Because they own that as well.
They own that too.
Yeah.
Which one is that, Alicia?
On the west.
One
West side,
that's-
yes.
One that's in the best shape. Probably.
And it was funny that you mentioned that, because I read an article yesterday talking about how movie theaters are really struggling. And the one part of movies that is doing well is the drive-in theaters. Because you don't have, I mean, you're staying in your vehicle, you don't have to worry about all the coronaviruses or anything else that's out around you.
That sounds kind of fun. I like it.
Well, I mean, and you think about it, I mean, if you,
Bluetooth technology.
if you had a drive-in theater in Sweetwater, Texas on I-20, another reason Sweetwater would be on the map.
Who might be in, ask Jeremy, they might be interested in doing that. Somebody with some,
So she wants to keep it. and do it.
oh, well,
I think Jeremy said that he
Yeah.
had discussion with her.
oh, really? He already is in the middle of it.
And we are going to talk with Jeremy on the Dosher building.
I mean, anybody that has the energy and enthusiasm on it, so, yeah.
He sent us an email this week and wants to talk to us about the Dosher building now, so.
Okay.
And then the property that was the Mayfields on Haley Street.
Yeah.
That is now going to be a water sales location.
Okay,
They've already got TxDOT give them their easement. They've already got a horseshoe driveway put in. They've already cleaned it up, and they'll be bringing in one of those. I don't know if it's going to be a windmill or what kind it's going to be, but it'll be a water, self-contained water sales location. And I think that's all we have in regular session.
Bye,
Ken, you
Karen.
might want to just mention.
Yes, sir.
If you haven't already, that Big Country Manufacturing Alliance meeting,
Yes, sir.
I thought that was fascinating. You might want to just touch on that for just a second.
You bet. Of course, we've talked about this a little before. The Big Country Manufacturing Alliance is a 19-county region, workforce board area. There's actually 8 members on the board of directors. The 5 of the members are manufacturing sector themselves, and 2 of those members are from Sweetwater. And then of the 3 others, 1 of them is from Sweetwater. So we actually have 3 spots on an 8-person board in 19 counties. And what this Manufacturing Alliance has done, one way that's successful, that we're 2.5 years into it and they're still meeting. We've been involved with a lot of these meetings that if you would never get that far if there wasn't interest. We're working on workforce issues, training issues, minimum skill sets that need to be done. And for years, we've wanted to do that, but we could never get the manufacturing company to come to the table. And every time they did, they would say, well, I have special needs for my employees. But once they all got in the same room and started talking, they said, 70 or 80% of my special needs is the same special needs that everybody else needs. And so that's what we're doing. We're working with school systems. At the meeting that Joseph attended, there was about 35 or 40 people in place. There was 260 kids from different school districts in it. And we're working with the CTE programs, trying to figure out how we can better prepare these kids and create that workforce pipeline coming out of our school systems and better prepared to go into a lot of these jobs. And we're not asking for a lot of specialized training. Most of them say, if you bring me someone that is willing, I'll teach the rest of it. But the willing part's what I can't teach them. But what we're trying to do is have some CET programs where if they're teaching a computer drafting course, well, let's find out what most of the companies want to use, and let's get the schools that type of software rather than they pick a software that they're teaching that no one in the region uses. And those are the type of things that we think that we're making some headway with. And Thomas Taylor is our chairman. Jeff Grimlin is one of the 5 board of directors. And then I represent economic development for the 19 county region on that group. And it's really exciting. I mean, we had a great meeting the other day, and I think that we're actually working on a pretty good sized grant that if we get that grant, that's really going to get us into the school systems that much more.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Thank you, Dave.
That sounds amazing. Really good. Are we ready? Anything else? Anybody have any other questions or comments or? Ready to move on?
I'm moving into executive session.
Thank you.
Second.
Thanks. It's moved and seconded that we move into executive session. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. The ayes have it and the motion is carried. So we'll move into executive session. Do we need
This
a motion?
conference will now be recorded.
Okay, great. Okay. Motion and second to leave executive session. We are now in open session.
I'll have one closing thing. I've spent 13 years here. 14 will be my last. Going to retire September 30th of 2021.
You know how to kill a party, don't you?
Really tough.
You told me you were going to stay on longer than that, Ken.
But I get you on. It's time, or will be then.
I'm envious that you have so easy it makes you.
Yeah. Congratulations. I'm sure that was a hard decision.
Yes, it is.
We are happy for you, but we are sad for us. That's,
We'll have a pity party after this.
that's well.
We still in executive session?
No,
No,
we're-
Okay.
we
Need a
can,
motion to adjourn?
yeah, I don't really know what to say. Goodness, but we do wish you and Carla the very best. Sweetwater is so blessed and fortunate to have you, and maybe you'll change your mind.
I've seen the bar. I've seen the bar setup that he's built in his backyard. Hey, yeah, he's got it all figured out.
He's ready.
For those of you who are old enough to remember Promise Keepers, it's an adage in Promise Keepers to finish strong. So I'm sure you will.
I want to share a story real quickly, if I may. When I had not been in Sweetwater maybe 2-3 months. Met so many wonderful people and, getting familiar with the area. Ken took the time to come to the bank, introduce himself, and said, "Hey, do you have a few minutes?" And I said, "Sure." We hopped into his Jeep. He gave me a window shield tour of Sweetwater. And I cannot tell you, Ken, what that meant to a newcomer. I did not know a soul in Sweetwater when I moved here in March of 18. And, instantly it felt like home, and by a lot of part because of Ken. And so, Ken, I want to say a very heartfelt thank you for what you do, not only for me, but I've seen you do it for a lot of other new guests in our town. So thank you for all you've done for me, and I wish you the absolute best in your retirement.
Carla and I have been blessed in this community, and it's been a lot of fun. And I was in Boy Scouts for a lot of years, and I had a scoutmaster that always taught us. He said, "Leave a campsite better than you found it." And I hope we have.
There's no doubt about that.
No.
No doubt about that.
So, what are your plans for October 2020?
Don't know yet. I mean,
I mean, you're not packing, or?
No, we're not going anywhere. Some of you probably know that I do preaching on the side, and I'm probably going to get more involved in that. I'm probably going to go back in the construction business as more of a part-time, but be very picky about what I do. And, I'd like to build some outside structures or.
Remodel some apartments, maybe.
But we're going to travel some too. In fact, Carla's retiring at the end of this year, and we've got some traveling we want to do, and not quitting, just probably going a different direction for a while. And I'll be 67 next summer, so.
Well, you may be available for some consulting, maybe.
Most definitely.
You're to work on your succession plan.
Yeah, I've got to adjourn this meeting. This lovely little lady is waiting on her granddaughter to come see her. So,
Oh,
Uh-oh, yes.
that sounds like a grandchild priority to me.
She FaceTimes me almost every day.
Oh, my goodness.
Doesn't say